Welcome to Surrender School.
At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. We are not an official 12-step meeting, but we do try to adhere to the spirit of the traditions. If Surrender School has helped in your recovery, please consider donating. There's a yellow donate button at the bottom of the landing page on our website. And we are a tax-deductible donation if you're in the United States. Okay, let's take a moment, kind of settle in, let go of the cares of the day and the cares of yesterday and the cares of tomorrow. Take a couple of deep breaths. Feel your feet on the floor. Get grounded. Open up. And let's talk about some stuff. Higher power, help us to set aside everything we think we know to leave space for what we have yet to learn. Okay, I'm going to open it up. Today's topic is emotional dependency. And I'm going to open this session by saying the solution to our problem is not just getting abstinent. How's that for an opening line? How's that for that? Okay, so when Bill W. wrote his Grapevine article about emotional sobriety, he stated that he realized his basic bottom line flaw was dependency. And he clarified that by saying dependency on people, circumstances, to meet his emotional needs. And Dr. Berger riffed off that in his book, Emotional Sobriety, and he says that we, addicts, are overly dependent on the people and circumstances of our environment for emotional support and security. He defines emotional dependency as making our emotional security dependent on situations outside of ourselves. Our feelings of security are dependent on things outside of ourselves, making our sense of self dependent on other people's reaction to us and maybe other external events, things like what people say or what happens to us, things like that. It says what our personal value is. We take our personal value from outside of ourselves. Our personal value is determined by other people. We depend on other people to give us our self-esteem. That means that we are at their mercy. This causes us to always be seeking emotional validation. I think Nathaniel Branden, the author of the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem guide, I think he said it best. Emotional dependency, I really like this. Emotional dependency turns other people in our lives into objects to be manipulated and controlled to get what we want. Dr. Branden says, quote, "In my emotional impoverishment, I tend to see other people essentially as sources of approval or disapproval. I do not appreciate them for who they are in their own right. I see only what they can or cannot do for me." Now that is chilling to me. That is chilling. It's like admitting that I've reduced people in my life to pieces on this chessboard that I'm moving around to get what I want. And I don't truly care or think of them as individual people with their own wants and needs and everything else. I only see them for what they can do for me. There is no way to have a real relationship with someone when you think like this, when you are emotionally dependent on them and are moving them around your chessboard to get what you want. Dr. Berger says, quote, "We become confined by the judgment or actions of others and then try to take them hostage because we need to control them to ensure they will think about us and treat us the way we secretly demand they should." Ouch. He says we use relationships to avoid taking responsibility for our own individual happiness and satisfaction. And when I think about that, I think about the last probably 10 years of my working life, where I was a paralegal in a law firm. And it's a very stressful job. Everything is very time oriented, and mistakes are like a huge big deal. And um, so it's very high pressure, high stress, and I was pretty miserable for the last 10 years of my career. And if I'm really honest with myself, I was using that whole work environment, stressful work environment, as an excuse for why I could keep eating because I was so miserable. And it was not necessarily a completely conscious choice, but I was letting that place rule my emotional life. And I was letting the people in that place tell me things about myself, like how good I was at my job, or how smart I was, or how, I don't know, talented I was, or something like that. I let them decide all that for me. And it was not a happy place. And like I said, I don't think it was like conscious, but it was convenient. It was very convenient as far as my disease was concerned. Dr. Berger goes on to say that emotional dependency automatically generates a set of unenforceable rules. Now, unenforceable rules are the rules we have for other people's behavior that we truly have no control over. We have all these rules. We have no way of making people follow them, so they're unenforceable. And he says that emotional dependency automatically generates a set of unenforceable rules because we need these people to do things for us so we can feel good about ourselves. Now, these unenforceable rules are based on our interpretation of the way things should be. Our rules have only one purpose: to manipulate others into doing what we want them to do so we can feel okay. Now, we do everything in our power to try to enforce these rules, but truly they're unenforceable because we can't control other people's behavior. And we do all of this in the name of feeling okay. And if you wanted to put it through the filter of the Enneagram, it could be, that one thing. Like for sixes, most of my manipulation and control and guilt and all that crap that I did to try to get my way was around me being able to feel safe. I wanted to feel safe. And as a six, that was my main goal. But like a 2, it would be connection. You would do all of that to get connection with people and feel loved and appreciated. So it's done so that we can get our needs met. And that makes us, I never thought of being controlling as being dependent, because it felt to me like kind of being a bully, being controlling. But it's really not. I'm trying to control other people so I can get my way. And I am heavily dependent on them doing what I want them to do so I can feel okay. And that is a very tenuous, dependent place to be. The lie of emotional dependency, the lie that emotional dependency tells us, is that we think we need people and circumstances to meet our expectations to do what we want in order for us to feel secure, happy, and content. That we somehow can't do this for ourselves. That's the lie. And program tells us that our higher power can help us with that as well. So that's a spiritual layer on top of the psychological layer. This is utter bullshit, by the way. I mean, it's not true. That lie is not true. What we really need to be able to do is to support ourselves and learn to deal with reality as it comes, not to depend on others to make our reality the way we want it to be. Once again, the bottom line is we fear discomfort, emotional and psychological discomfort. And we have to figure out a way to be comfortable with discomfort. See, discomfort for me screams that something isn't right and that I need to fix it right away or I won't be safe. I'll be abandoned is really where I go to. I believed that discomfort had the power to destroy me and the power to destroy the life I had worked so hard to build. But I've come to realize that discomfort's just discomfort. By itself, it doesn't have any power. It can't hurt us. It only has the power that we give it. And when I give it power, I wind up doing all kinds of crazy stuff, like people pleasing, manipulation, helping, rescuing, contorting myself like a pretzel so you'll like me. And of course, eating. Lots and lots of eating. Because inevitably, I wouldn't be able to manipulate people and situations well enough to meet all of my emotional needs, all of my emotional demands. And then I had to get rid of these feelings that I had, no matter what the cost. And the cost was almost always my abstinence, my recovery, and my sanity. So I think the steps help us realize that discomfort doesn't have to be deadly. The steps require us to be uncomfortable at times. That's what it's like doing the steps. Certainly, steps 4 through 9 can cause just a smidge of discomfort. But for me, step 3 was the most uncomfortable of all. That was the hardest step for me. Step 3 told me in no uncertain terms that I was not in charge. I was not in control. What do you mean I'm not in control? I mean, how can I navigate life if I'm not in control? I mean, how can I get my needs met? I mean, something as basic as my emotional needs, how can I get them met if I'm not in control? Well, enter my higher power. I don't depend on my higher power to change reality for me, to change the outside stuff for me. But I do depend on my higher power to guide me through whatever is going on for me, to help me change and grow internally. My higher power is responsible for the guidance, and I am responsible for the work. I'm going to say that again. My higher power is responsible for the guidance, and I am responsible for the work. Through working the steps and working with the guidance of my higher power, I am finally, at 61, figuring out how to meet my own emotional needs. A little late, but better late than never, I guess. It's teaching me how to get approval and validation from myself instead of relying on other people to give it to me. Or rather, I mean, honestly, demanding that other people give it to me. My higher power is helping me to grow up and to take responsibility for myself. You know, I think I spent a bit of time in the beginning when I first started learning about emotional dependency, really kind of judging, well, not kind of, really judging myself negatively for having this and feeling embarrassed, bordering on ashamed that I was navigating the world in this immature way or whatever. I had a lot of morality condemnation about for myself on this stuff, and I just don't think that's what this is about, because quite frankly, I mean, we grow up that way. We're children. We're completely emotionally dependent, and then we grow up and we try and get some semblance of adulting and being independent. But if you really look around, I don't think it's just addicts that are emotionally dependent. I think it's humans. And we do that, and you look around even in your own environment, and people are busy trying to manipulate and control you to meet their needs. So I don't think there's any moral problem with this or any character assassination around having emotional dependency. I just think it is kind of our natural state of affairs, and we, through program, we learn how to be independent, and with the help of our higher power, we really do become independent. So I wanted to make sure that I said that, because I think sometimes this can feel a little, that we're like this. And I certainly don't think that's the way Bill meant it. And I don't think that's the way Ellen Berger meant it either. Okay, are we ready for our question? Let me find it here. Okay. Here is the journaling question. How does being emotionally dependent on others impact my ability to get and stay abstinent? How does my emotional dependency affect my abstinence? All right, I'll set a timer. We'll see you on the other side.
Thanks for recovering with us.